Until I saw somebody share a review for this show, I totally forgot that. Not only did I forget that season 2 was happening, I just forgot the show existed.
Yeah, I really didn't see much advertising. I think they did like orcs overtake Central Park, but that was about it. It wasn't real though. I went to Central Park trying to I was like, all right, I guess we gotta fight these orcs. Nothing was there.
You rolled up.
Yeah, I was looking for some orcs.
You, Mr. I would play dead during war. You saw the orcs in Central Park and took it upon yourself to fight in the vanguard.
Well, now that I know they got families and shit.
That is true. Yeah, I didn't know the orcs could have families. It almost felt like a Family Guy thing. The orc comes home after a long day of being an orc. How was it, honey?
Well, that's how I kind of realized that this season was released because of people shitting their pants online. And this was like a main thing people pointed out. It's like, oh, did orcs have families? You're going to make orcs sympathetic? So I was expecting like this huge grand plot line of, orcs are actually good and whatnot. And it was like a 2-second scene that totally makes sense given the Tolkien lore as well. So...
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Reuben, formerly known as Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to talk about the Rings of Power. Well, the Lord of the Rings of Power, so that people remember that it's a Lord of the Rings production. And we're talking Season 2. The first 3 episodes have been released on Amazon Prime, so if you're like us and you didn't know the show was out, you're welcome for the heads up. And before we get into this episode, I want to let you guys know that you can listen to this wherever you get your podcasts, not just YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever. And follow us on social medias at Nerd Soup, at Beau Soup, at Nerd Soup Monkey on most platforms. And go check out our Patreon page where we have some extra podcasts. Many people have been asking us, hey, where's your review for The Bear and The Boys, Season 3 and 4, respectively? Well, they're up on the Patreon page. So you got to pledge. It's not too much. Go ahead, check it out, and you'll also get some extra podcasts featuring Marissa. So if you're a fan of Marissa, go ahead. Aaron, how are you today on this beautiful weekend or weekday? Keep them on their toes.
Not too bad. I've had some interesting developments in life. One is that I think I'm drinking Dr. Peppers in my sleep because I wake up with like 3 empty cans of Dr. Pepper in my nightstand. So I don't know if I'm sleepwalking and just drinking Dr. Peppers or if I'm like really thirsty, but I'm kind of out of it, but I'm like just grabbing anything in my fridge. But I think it's a problem.
And you have no memory of how they got there?
Vaguely, like the first one, but not the second and third. I think I wake up and I forget there's one right there, so I go get another one.
What if it's like a Dr. Pepper sleep paralysis demon?
Maybe.
He's just watching you and crushing cans.
Forrest Gump. That dude loved Dr. Pepper. 13 Dr. Peppers at the White House.
There's quite nothing like that carbonated, salty taste. It complements beef jerky so poorly, but it seems to be the only thing you can drink when you're eating beef jerky.
Maybe I'm just dehydrated. I gotta drink more water so I don't wake up in the middle of the night.
Dude, I've been tracking my sleep. I'm surprised by how much I wake up in the middle of the night. Don't remember it.
Yeah, I do too, especially with my alarms. I'm also having beefing pretty heavy with the Wendy's drive-thru lady.
Oh, that's tough, dude. That's my aunt. Be nice.
No, like she's just... They never give me enough sauce, so I always ask, and, she got upset, like, what, you don't think I know to give you sauce? And I'm like, no, I was just making sure. And she remembered me next time, so it's like, it's just an awkward interaction. It's like we're definitely beefing, but we also have, like, I think a mutual respect to where I would take a bullet for her if need be. Like, it's that kind of relationship.
Yeah, this is the warm-up. This is, the first couple of episodes of the season.
There's a whole will they, won't they vibe going. Everyone's talking about it, but yeah, so that's my life.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good reason if you want to catch up on, if you want to get the full story, subscribe to our Patreon, because Aaron's going to be covering that on our next Patreon podcast. You don't want to miss that. All right, let's get into the Lord of the Rings of Power, Season 2. So yeah, like I said, I saw somebody share a review for this season, and they said that it was an improvement over Season 1. So I was actually excited to tap in on day 1. And I really enjoyed it. I actually thought that the first 10 minutes of episode 1 were better than season 1 combined. Just everything that happened in season 1. And I think what this season has done well so far is it remembered that fantasy and horror are always linked. There's always going to be strong horror elements in any great fantasy series. And just thinking about the movies after watching these 3 episodes, there's so many scary moments. Even the opening monologue describing what this show is leading up to is scary. Just the way that Cate Blanchett delivers those lines and the sequences and the flashbacks. But I think this season remembered, let's explore some of these horror elements. Let's focus more on the villains. So a character like Sauron, who I didn't enjoy him much as Halbrand in season 1, I had a lot of criticisms for that character and his relationship with Galadriel. He's been excellent in these first 3 episodes. He's scared the shit out of me several times. Just seeing, like I said, going to that opening when he's killed by Adar, and then it takes thousands of years for him to manifest again into that goo that was just absorbing life forms. He just devours the rat and then devours the poor woman on the carriage. That shit was awesome to me. And like I said, that's the dark fantasy elements that were sometimes missing in that first season. It was very whimsical and wholesome, which are also elements of the Lord of the Rings series, books, movies, whatever. But let's get into the mud. Let's show the dark side. And I think us now knowing that Charlie Vickers is playing Sauron has made that character much more enjoyable. Watching him manipulate, watching him come up with these plans and still pretending to be Halbrand. He's just been a horrifying presence for me. And there are some things that I still think that the show is struggling with overall, but the writing to me feels more comfortable and more confident in the direction that the story is heading. Aaron, what do you think so far of the first 3 episodes of season 2?
I agree. I think the Sauron character has been the standout of the season so far. Every time he's on screen, it's just, and the performance has been well too. So every time he's on screen, there's just a screen presence about it where you're kind of still bought into, like, obviously we know Sauron and he's not a great guy, but now that we know, looking back at last season, his maneuverings, he just comes off differently because the deviousness is known to the audience. So when he is deceiving these other characters, the way he plays it with his confidence and the way he handles that, I think is very convincing. And it's been the most entertaining aspect of the show to watch so far this season, because Sauron the Deceiver, that's the big thing around him. How did he get that nickname? And you can see why he's able to kind of manipulate some people, how he's able to get himself in a position to where he and there's going to be a struggle with the names, the Smith
Celebrimbor. Yeah, Celebrimbor.
Yeah.
That's what his fangirls call him.
Yeah. Like how he's able to manipulate his way into that situation by preying on his insecurities that no one is respecting his work. I found that to be very interesting. And that moment when he reveals himself to be this kind of elf deity, I thought that was probably the best executed sequence of the show so far in terms of just visuals, eeriness, and vibe that was radiating off the screen. And again, I think it looks great. I think we talked about at length last season the amount of money that was put into the show, and I've always stood by that. I thought it looked fantastic. I know some people might think it's a little overproduced. I think it really captures some of the magical essence of some of these settings, and that's been a big positive for me so far.
Yeah, dude, that sequence when he appeared to him as Anatar, and once again, Vickers being able to make that change, because the madness in his eyes when he was sharing scenes with characters who were unsuspecting was bone-chilling. But then becoming this new presence, this godly figure. And when he called Celebrimbor the Lord of the Rings, I thought that was one of the best uses of a title in a show or a movie. That was so cool. And he just knew the perfect way to manipulate these guys. And when I say these guys, I mean all of the elves, because notice he's not appearing to the dwarves because that shit wouldn't fly. Prince Durin tagged him immediately. He knew that something was up and that there's way more to the story than this guy is actually presenting. But for the elves, like you said, they've got these insecurities and they're also vain. They feel like they've got this duty, this responsibility to Middle-earth, and then they use that as an excuse to follow their own passions and worry about their own legacies. So Celebrimbor was just eating out of this guy's hands. It was the perfect way to manipulate him. And the build-up to that scene was really scary because I didn't know what he was going to do to this guy. I thought he was going to kill him. You know, it's the typical, he's finally accomplished something he's been working on for his entire life. And then how do you take the air out of that celebration? You just take his life. And then I thought maybe he would take on the persona of Celebrimbor, but what we got ended up being so much better. And even as that character, it's still Sauron because you see the arrogance, you see the impatience, and also the madness. But now with the slick back hair and the elven ears, Vickers, man, like I said, wasn't so impressed with him in season 1. He's been dynamite these first 3.
Yeah, and I think this is like that moment and another moment when Elrond is talking to Círdan. Were moments that like I really felt that we were back in Lord of the Rings, because we didn't really get that in season 1. And for all the criticism season 1 got, valid and invalid, I think that there's been, I've always had like a little sense of enjoyment, but I think it definitely struggled at times where it was very dull. And I think in season 2, there has been some rough patches sprinkled in, but overall, I think I like where the story is headed. And I think there's been better moments that kind of draw you in more so than all of season 1. And we're only 3 episodes in. That's definitely a plus, but I still think it does struggle at times because it is such a vast story that even someone who like knows a decent amount about this world, it is difficult to keep up at times. I think maybe some of those aspects will dwindle a bit as we get more comfortable in this setting, but as of right now, I still find myself to be not confused, but just I don't think they're trying to do like how we talked about with House of the Dragon, like the Game of Thrones, different perspectives, different settings thing. And I think they're just a little bit, they could clean up on that a little bit to make it more digestible for the viewer.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that because even reading some recaps when they were talking about characters going to new places, I felt like the show, they probably did make it clear, but not clear enough to where I actually remembered where these characters were going or where they were or why a new location was new. And I think part of that is also just me forgetting some of the things where we left off in season 1. But yeah, I feel like Numenor, the stuff with Numenor is still the weakest out of everything that we've gotten so far, and it wasn't that strong in season 1. A character like Arondir, I like how they're not, when you mentioned the way that House of the Dragon told its story, they're not making a point to catch up with every character in every episode where we have to know exactly where they are in each episode so the audience doesn't forget. You know, Arondir is only in episode 3 and he's got that hero scene and he's back. But once again, that stuff is just kind of so. He was a main character in season 1 and here he is again. Theo is still annoying.
I fucking hate that kid.
He grew up a lot, which is always fun when kids, it's like the day after a battle and Theo went through puberty in those couple of days. But yeah, he's still annoying, still dealing with the temptation of being a dick or just not being a dick. So that's fun. I thought the Isildur sequence with the spiders was a nice callback to the movies. Once I saw those spiders, I was like, oh, here we go. And once again, tapping into those horror elements. The one orc who got his head exploded by that spider, that was intense. Really cool horse. Love a good horse that's a buddy like that. Very loyal, saved his life. But then where Isildur left off, that stuff to me, like you said, it's just, and the whole sequence of them trying to save his horse, it was just confusing to me. I didn't know what the plan was.
And the show's a nightmare to watch in the daytime. 50% of every scene is in darkness.
Oh, right, yeah.
And you can't see fucking shit.
But see, what I thought was a lot stronger this season already was Nori, the Stranger, and Poppy. Huge cheer. My whole house went crazy, and it was just me watching when Poppy showed up. Big fan of Poppy. I'm a leader of the Poppy Hive. But the Stranger being able to talk has made that storyline so much better already from season 1. Just a simple addition, once again, where they were playing with the mystery of the character, similar to Sauron. People had their theories, people had their guesses. Just being able to give that character an actual voice has made him a much better character. And I thought that sequence when he brings on the sandstorm was also terrifying. He's trying to help his buddies that have been leading him on this journey, that have been accompanying him, and he loses control and he puts them in danger. So you just feel bad once again for that character, but it's the most I've ever felt towards that character, where the relationship between him, Nori, and Poppy, it meant something to me now because, like I said, he's able to speak. He's able to talk about his own life and how he has glimpses of where he came from, even if he can't put a name to it, even if he doesn't know his own name. It's humanized him. He's not just this grand wizard with immense power, a metaphor for an angel. He's a guy who's lost, similar to so many characters in this world. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that stuff. And then even Kieran Hines as the new Dark Wizard, the guy is just built for fantasy. He kind of looked a little ridiculous with the beard, but once he started talking, I was like, okay, I like this.
Yeah, and I think when we go to the elves,
Galadriel.
the whole dynamic with the High King, Galadriel, Elrond, I wish that was a little stronger.
Dude, it was so funny when Galadriel was like, they kept pressing her on who Halbrand actually was, and she's like, turns out he's the Dark Lord Sauron that we've all been looking for.
No, you know what I thought was a funny part? When Elrond's talking to Círdan, and he separated the art from the artist.
Oh, that was funny too.
Sauron. You want me
and
to
then he tells him that
these?
his favorite poet was a drunkard, and Elrond he was a drunkard?
Yeah, to fucking medieval fucking fantasy Hitler. That's what we're gonna separate the art from the artist from.
He really told Elrond to stop being woke. Oh, you can't enjoy it. Look at this beautiful thing he made.
I mean, say what you will, but his performances in Seven with have you seen Seven?
Dude, American Beauty, one of my favorites.
Yeah. Kaiser Soze, he was him the whole time.
Yeah, no, that thinking back on it, that is kind of fucking hilarious.
Blue Jasmine, terrific movie, man.
Yeah, the elf stuff, it definitely could be better. I had totally forgotten about how they wanted the mithril because they were dying. But I think the bigger stuff, when they talk about the fate of the elves was written, and they're trying to buck that, essentially, because they feel they're so important to the future of Middle-earth that they feel like they're protectors. So even that conversation where Elrond's the only one who wants to destroy the rings, and Círdan's like, no, you should take on the role of guiding them. Every conversation I thought between Elrond and Círdan has been really strong. The stuff with the king and even Galadriel, it's still shaky because Galadriel, they write her, it's such good casting, Morfydd Clark, but the character is so self-important, and I don't think that's the intention of the writing. I think that's a mistake where she comes off as, once again, like they're going to find Elrond because he's got the rings, and she's like telling the king, no, let me go talk to him. I wanted the king to be like, who invited you? You just committed high treason. And she's like, you know what, king, just give me a chance to talk to him. Like, what? You should be in jail.
Yeah, well, and so should Elrond. But I feel like the king just very forgiving in a weird way.
He's
kind of a dick, but like very forgiving.
No, he's very much treating them like they're the main characters of the show.
Yes.
And that he doesn't have authority to stop them because they're just too important to the story. So if that's the case, I think that the writing for those characters needs to be a bit better because the politics feel so life or death for the elves that the fact that they're able to get away with some of the stuff that they do, to me, it just feels a little silly. But like I said, the casting of the two characters, Elrond and Galadriel, is so strong. I love Morfydd Clark as that character. She just looks terrific. I don't think anybody has ever looked more Welsh in their entire life.
Yeah, and I like some of the things they played with, like especially with Galadriel in the movies, some of the temptations that she had when Frodo brought the ring to her. And, she kind of passes the test there. Where here, she's looking at the elven rings in the same kind of, or viewing them in the same kind of way. Kind of, obviously we know who these characters are, but, to the viewer, maybe they really don't know what they're doing with these, or maybe their intentions are a bit selfish. Because obviously we know how the rings can corrupt, and Sauron's had a hand in them. So, like, viewing them as, like, weapons to be used for good, I mean, that's kind of the same trap that many characters fell in when it came to the one true ring. And I feel like everyone thinking Elrond's crazy for being like, maybe we can use them, but I think it's much more likely that Sauron fucking put a virus in these things.
Right.
But yeah, I think the most entertaining stuff, I think, has been either with Adar or Sauron so far. And even with the dwarves, we really didn't get much into it, but I think they're just a fun presence to see on screen. I like Durin a lot. He might be my favorite character.
Oh yeah, dude. I love Durin. I love King Durin. I love Peter Cullen as that character. That was one of my favorite dynamics in season one. I mean, I'm always just a sucker for the dwarves when it comes to Lord of the Rings. But I like that too, the reoccurring idea in fantasy that it's harder to trick a dwarf because they're just so authentic. They're not going to pretend to be somebody they're not. They're not going to bite their tongues when they feel that something is off. So that's why I really enjoyed that scene with Sauron and Durin. But yeah, even a character like Disa, to me, she was one of the most delightful characters in season one, and same thing here in season two when she's singing to the mountains and she realizes she can't communicate anymore. I thought that scene was great, and also her trying to bring together father and son, and also the final scene that we see between the king and the prince when he tells him, you know, you were probably right that whatever the elves are trying to do, essentially trying to escape their fate, is going to put us in an even more perilous situation. But the king does agree because that's been the driving force. They're all having their problems where the elves are going to die, and the what's the name of the dwarven kingdom? It's falling apart, so that they're going to need these rings as well. So it's a good play by Sauron here, but it's different because I think the dwarves are desperate to survive, whereas the elves believe they need to survive in order to save Middle Earth. So it's that arrogance and that hubris that the elves have, whereas the dwarves are just similar, trying to avoid this fate of destruction, but for a different purpose altogether. They're not worried about Middle Earth. They're just worried about continuing their way of life.
And Adar obviously getting recast. R.I.P. Benjamin Stark again. Took me a second because I forgot that news. Like somebody got recasted. I guess it was him, huh?
Well, it's funny because I was looking at him and I was like, oh, he kind of looks like Adar. Then it turns out he was Adar.
Yeah.
Yeah, good actor. You know, if you're going to recast it and the actor's good, that always makes it an easier pill to swallow. I felt like Joseph Mawley had more presence in season one as that character. He just seemed like more of a freak. And the way that he delivered his lines, the way that he was kind of always, it felt like he was adrift in his own thoughts. This Adar is a bit more to the point, but also scary. And I enjoyed those scenes when he's negotiating with Sauron. And once again, I really enjoyed Sauron's manipulations here when he's being beaten and they're like, man, you can withstand a lot of pain. And it's just fun being in the audience knowing that that's not affecting him whatsoever. Like you were in a room right now with the fucking Dark Lord. This guy is, we see what he did to that one guy when he convinces the warg to kill him. He just continues to be so terrifying. But yeah, the new Adar, didn't really mind it. Like I said, I think Joseph Mawley was better fit for that character, but
Yeah.
not too bad for the recast.
And yeah, obviously, and this is one of those shows where I think even going into season one, people looked at things to just, they went into it wanting to hate it right off the bat, which isn't fair. And you gotta, obviously, you'd want people to give it a shot and everything. But I feel like that's kind of wrapped over to season two. I saw online people literally grasping at anything to kind of shit on the show. And one of those aspects was the orcs shown having a family for 10 seconds, which I really didn't mind at all. I feel like this is also a situation people themselves get themselves into when they grasp at straws and kind of reveal to people that they actually don't know what the fuck they're talking about. If you want to say that's shitting on Tolkien's legacy, but you're referencing the movies when it comes to orcs and not actually what Tolkien's written.
And we've joked about this in the past when we talk about what the orcs do in their free time. You kind of just wonder about, like, do they have hobbies? Do they cry? But now they're trying to give us those answers. And it's something where I don't need it, you know.
No, it's not. But it's something that like people were talking about it like it was the worst possible thing you could include in the show.
Right. Well, people want to act like Lord of the Rings is purely black and white when it's not. There have always been characters, and I think that's the whole point of the main ring. It's that Frodo's the only one who's able to resist that temptation of evil. And Saruman's a great example too, of somebody who was born to be an agent of light and he gets corrupted. So
But also with the orcs, it's like we've seen them show fear before, so they do have some sort of emotion to them. And also with Adar, this is kind of, you know, being in a completely different age, you know, all this time in the past. Like, I feel like it only makes sense that there's a evolution of things if you want to keep it within the same world as the movies. Just that over time they've come more disconnected from their humanity and delved out a figure like Adar to be a guiding father figure for the orcs. It's something where I think even like if you look back to season one, this isn't that big of a stretch to come to this conclusion, especially with the way Adar talked about how the orcs were made, where he comes from, and kind of hold that origin, and how his goal is to make a place where they are safe, that they don't have to worry about the sunlight and things like that. I feel like that humanity or that that attempt to humanize the orcs is a seed planted back in season one to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. That was going to be my point. It's something that they touched on in season one. So I don't know why people are getting so excited over them continuing that in season two. And I think it's just the orcs have always been default cannon fodder, evil, disgusting things that you want to kill. And they're scary and they ambush you and you're like, oh my God, I got to stab you in the head. But I don't mind it. It just depends on how they write it. It is going to be a little difficult because they are so obviously evil, the way they act and the way they look. So it could be hard for people if it's not done in a way that feels authentic to the orcs. It could come off as a little silly, but we've barely gotten any of it. And like you said, people complaining about the lore. I saw that too on Reddit. Somebody was like, hey, dickheads, the orcs have had family if you've actually read. Or it's been shown that the orcs have families if you actually have read Tolkien.
Well, it's something where too, I think it's like, this is how you can tell, like if people want to make this excuse, it's like, oh, I just think the show is bad. And like, it's when you kind of follow the trend of what people are hating on, because the reason why they don't like this is because they're trying to humanize the orcs and make the bad guys seem good. Meanwhile, the complaint in season one was Galadriel could do no wrong. And now if you're going to try to show some flaws in that character, now the good guys, they're trying to manipulate where the good guys are bad, and actually the bad guys are actually sympathetic as well. So it's like either way you go and try to tell that aspect of the story, it's just going to cause more problems for some people.
Yeah, I feel like for all adaptations these days, I mean, people are probably going to call me a hypocrite based on some of the things I've said about House of the Dragon, but I've tried to get over changes, and if it's not going to be 100% accurate, to not let it ruin the show for me. It helps with Lord of the Rings because I've never read them and I'm not as familiar with the lore. There were some things in season one where I thought, okay, that's a little strange that they changed it, but now in season two, I just simply don't give a fuck. If it's entertaining, I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm not going to let that shit take away from it.
Right. And I think that's the problem with adapting, especially, I feel like if this was the first attempt to adapt any of Tolkien's work, like the Lord of the Rings movies don't exist, then I don't think a lot of these issues would be discussed besides like the real sweaty nerds, you know, who've been reading these books for decades and decades and multiple times through. But due to the popularity
like Ben
of
Parks and Rec.
What?
Ben from Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah, he would fucking despise.
He doesn't even like.
He despised Tolkien. No, he despised Peter Jackson's work. And there probably was a lot of that back in the day too, but we just didn't hear about it because no one really knew about it. And its popularity stemmed from the movies, and that's a lot of people's first introduction to it. I think it's hard pressed to find someone watching a show that doesn't have some prior knowledge of Lord of the Rings. So once you get into that territory, and we see it with Star Wars and Marvel and everything else with these franchises, it really is hard to appease everyone when it comes to continuing on franchises.
Yeah, and it's also some villain on villain violence. I think that always helps a show because it just makes things more complicated, because Adar is a villain for the good guys in the show, similar to Sauron, but Adar is also now the protagonist of his own story. Like you said, he's trying to build a place for the orcs so that they can live in peace, just be disgusting little monsters with their disgusting families. So it puts him up against Sauron. He's not the only one gunning for Sauron now. Well, no, he is also gunning for Sauron along with Galadriel and the elves, and the dwarves are kind of kept in the dark here. And I also like the ticking time bomb of Celebrimbor and Anatar working on more rings, because we saw that the emissary or whatever it was from the elves didn't make it to Celebrimbor before Halbrand got there. So now he's being deceived and the elves are being kept in the dark about that. So what's going to happen with Celebrimbor? Does he become so enamored with this elven deity that he betrays his own people because he feels like he's destined for greater things to do for the greater good? That's interesting to me. So I think the seeds that they've planted so far in these first 3 episodes are fun and have me excited, except for Numenor. I mean...
Yeah. No, Numenor sucks.
Yeah, Numenor... I think the queen, for a second I totally forgot she was blind, so I was like, why is she acting like that? And then I remembered, oh yeah, she went blind because of the battle.
Even Isildur, his father, on both sides of that conflict. I don't care who wins.
No, yeah. I think that was the eagle. Probably if you had an eagle interpreter, it's probably just complaining about how annoying the politics have been. Man, you guys all suck. And Farazan was like, oh man, looks like he wants me to be king. Or Farazan's boy. That was so not clear, and they just immediately claimed it. It's a perfect example of it doesn't matter who does it best. It's more important if you do it first.
Well, I didn't even like with the mother slapping the queen and then her being like,
oh, hated that. Hated that. A moment for her to show that she's a queen of the people. I would have killed. I would have been like, bring me her head.
Yeah, off with your head.
Like, man, we went into battle for, it's not like we just willy-nilly. There's some shit going on here.
I can't see.
Just starts executing everybody.
I know what it's like to lose.
The people of Numenor are very isolationist. They're like, Numenor first. No more foreign aid to those elves.
Yeah,
look at her. She's got a magic globe that... Who's the real president?
Yeah, I forgot her name. She sucks.
Arian?
Okay.
Yeah. No, I didn't. No, Elendil, Isildur, and Arian were some of the weakest aspects of season 1, and they continue to just be present in the story. I guess with Arian, they tried to involve her more in the actual plot because she steals the Palantir, and because of that, Miriel is apparently no longer queen. It's just going to be Farazan. Farazan was always the best out of the Numenor dynamics because he was scheming in the background. So a character who's got two personalities, one that he shows the world and one that he keeps private and for the audience, is always going to be a fun character. And now seeing him take the throne, essentially, of Numenor, makes me excited for what possibly could transpire here, because it puts characters on their heels. Not everything is going to be as clean as Numenor's this united, powerful kingdom. So not only do they face the devastation of the battle, but now there's this internal strife. And I think that there's potential there.
Sure. Everyone got so shook when she brought that thing out.
Oh, yeah. They were like, oh, what's that?
They only buy Numenor here.
Yeah. Just starts pulling out a bunch of other elven shit she's got. Elven cigarettes. How dare you?
Is that a Toyota Tundra?
Farazan's like, we're going to put 100% tariffs on elven gear, and that money goes directly to us. But even the politics, like, not to pile up on it too much, but it's just like, you would never see some shit happen like that in Westeros, you know? It's almost like, I don't know, the common people being that close, having that much contact with the royals, would never fly in Westeros. Well, it was like bad security.
Even that speech begins before everything, because before she brought out the Seeing Stone, like, everyone was on her side. She won over the crowd with that. I hate that.
Oh yeah, another one. But that was the second time they did that, where somebody was like, "You're the fake queen," and she's like, "Listen here," and they're like, "Oh, okay, you're the real queen." You just fix things with the speech. It's like in Wonder Woman 1984 when she was just like, "Everybody, take back your wish."
Yeah,
because I'm hot. They're like, oh, that's a good point.
Imagine that shit like in real day, whether it's like Trump or Kamala.
Right. Yeah.
Such a rousing speech that the other side's like, oh, you're right.
80% approval.
Yeah. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, when you put it that way, when the emotional music started playing in the background, I started nodding my head and realizing, yeah.
Maybe I didn't come from a coconut tree.
Yeah, that stuff, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think we've piled up on it. Hopefully it improves.
Yeah, and I think that's just some of the struggles and just like an awkwardness in some of the moments. I don't know if it could be like if it has more to do with writing or just I guess it is a writing issue or a character issue, but that all kind of is one and the same in a lot of aspects.
Well, I think the aftermath, people being upset because of how much they lost in the battle, there's definitely something there. But I think the execution has been weak because we're criticizing these individual moments of her hugging the mother and then her giving the speech. If that's worked in a different way where those moments don't happen and you just really feel the pressure of the situation on these characters, rather than them just placating an audience because they say a few fancy words or they have a gesture towards a grieving mother, that there are better ways, less cliched ways to execute that storyline and make it interesting. When it comes to political maneuverings and political backstabbings and scheming, that's the shit that we love. And a lot of people do enjoy that stuff these days because of Game of Thrones. And
well, I think it just needs some more time and attention to it. And there's just like a better scheming plot line in the same show. Probably in the scene before with like Sauron.
Right,
So
right.
like,
yeah.
I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway from the first 3 episodes is like, I really like some things, other things don't work. And it's not like a 50-50 hit rate, which isn't ideal, but I still like the stuff I like enough, and I'll be patient with the other stuff to see how it develops throughout the season.
Yeah, I probably liked it a bit more than you because I felt like these first 3 episodes have given us arguably the best scenes of the series so far. And some frightening moments, some cool action sequences, like with Arondir when he saves the day, and like with the spiders, and everything with Sauron to me has just been amplified. Vickers has been an absolute delight to watch play this character, and as I said now, just getting it out of the way that he is evil makes it so much more enjoyable for the audience, and I think for the actor as well. You could just sense that he's been giving more room to operate as this character, and that's a plus for me. So yeah, these first 3 compared to the first 3 of season 1, way more enjoyable, and I had a good time watching it.
The first half hour of the first episode, I was like, oh, I'm getting a little bored here. But it definitely picked up. And I think episode 2 was the strongest. And coincidentally, that was just the strongest Sauron episode as well. So
yeah, that shit was so fucking hard, man, when he appeared as Lord of the Gifts. The visually, that was
such a sick name. Fucking, that's like OP Santa Claus. If Santa Claus had some fucking sauce to him, he'd be called Lord of the Gifts.
Yeah, Santa's gonna have to, I don't know, rework his PR. Saint Nick ain't cutting it anymore.
No. He's like the fucking, I don't know.
No, he's like sexy Santa.
Yeah.
I didn't know Santa could be sexy.
Well, there is a sexy Santa. Never seen Santa like dressed like all ripped?
Oh, right. Yeah, J.K. Simmons Santa.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons. Or Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods? Yeah.
You never seen that?
No, I haven't.
I think he called himself like Mac Daddy Santa or something. Just him with a shirt off and the Santa beard and hat.
Great golfer, very weird guy.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Do we have questions?
Yeah, we'll probably be back for, wait, what'd you say?
Do we have fan questions?
Oh, I thought you said, do you know any Russians?
Oh, no. Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we'll probably come back and review the next 3. We'll probably do it like that. I think it's an 8-episode season, so we'll do 3, and then 2, because I imagine that the final 2 episodes are going to be on the longer side. I hear there's an incredible battle this season. So yeah, we can't take it for granted how much money that Amazon is pumping into this show, even though we hate Amazon, but the one good thing that they've decided to do. Shout out to Bezos, but also fuck Bezos. Yeah, let's go to some questions here.
Hold on, I'm getting a call.
Oh shit, it's Bezos.
No, it's Nash.
Oh shit, even worse.
Let's see what he got to say. Hello? What? Oh, seriously? No way. Fuck, man. Yeah. No, yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, let me just, I'm recording right now, so let me just, like, finish up here, and I'll give you a quick call back, all right? All right, bye. Fuck, man. It's crazy. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, that was Nash. He just called me. He said, apparently, Gen Z is trying to cancel Eminem.
Did you really just fake a call from Nash to do that joke?
What do you mean? Was that good? Did I get you?
No. I don't think there was a single moment where I actually thought you were talking to Nash, except the very beginning.
Oh.
Because you usually answer a call from Nash like you didn't want to talk to him at all. Like you could have gotten a call from Fran Drescher and it would have been more exciting for you.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna have to work on that. You little kids think you're gonna cancel Eminem? Well, You little kids are sweet like cinnamon. That video actually, if I was standing on like the highest cliff in the world and I watched that video, I wouldn't be able to stop myself from jumping. That one is just bad.
Yeah. I was going to have Big Justice call in, but.
Man, I had like a 2-day obsession with them, and then they filmed a video with a porn star, and it made me realize, oh my God, the Rizzler's going to crash out one day, and it's going to be really bad. They're going to ruin that kid.
Well, I feel like there's some weird fucking, like the baby Gronk kid.
Yes.
Like what his father's doing to him should be fucking illegal.
All right, we didn't get a lot of Lord of the Rings questions, but I'll start with this one.
That's good.
If this show isn't canon to Tolkien's world, why are they calling it Lord of the Rings? Question here from Denton. Well, marketing.
Yeah.
They want people to watch it and think that it's connected to the Lord of the Rings movies. And for my own headcanon, I've decided that it is, just for my own fun. Whenever it wraps up, and I'll just go into the Lord of the Rings movies and watch that. Because, I mean, it basically is, dude. We're not going to see any of the same actors portraying these characters. We're not going to see any footage from the movies. But it's the story of how they defeated Sauron the first time around. So,
well, it's sort of an interesting way to tell it, too. Because obviously, with the rights they own, like, it is they're in a weird place of what they can write and what they can't. So it's like, you could argue then don't make the fucking series then, but it's like a lot of things they're trying to combine as well, where it's almost like a recap.
Right, yeah.
Or like a retelling. Like, when you watch like a murder doc and they're like, here's a reenactment of what really happened, but that's not how it went down. It's almost like that.
Right.
And, especially with like, George R.R. Martin, what he's saying about House of the Dragon now.
Well, that's a question here from Lord Marco. Is George R.R. Martin doing too much by announcing a blog post to critique
he's not doing
season
enough
2?
Writing.
Well, I read the interview where he hinted at the blog post critiquing House of the Dragon, and it opened with him saying, I haven't been at my computer since July 15th. And I just closed the interview.
Yeah, he's lost so much goodwill with me. It's like, I don't even care what he has to say about House of the Dragon. And also, like, you didn't have these problems with Game of Thrones. And I also think...
Right, he's way more willing these days to openly critique.
And, like, I get it. Like, it's your work and it's personal to you. And, like, it all makes perfect sense. But also, I think for a reason why he didn't really go out after Game of Thrones in the way he did is because, one, I think a lot more than he's letting on was in the show that that were his ideas. And also he's also like, he didn't give them the source material to adapt. So it's on him more so than people like to think with the ending of Game of Thrones. And here, maybe I think he's like, well, that's not the case. This is all kind of written out and there's a roadmap there and they just don't choose to follow it, which he could view as more of a disrespectful action. But
he comes from TV. He has to know how TV works. There was a huge writer's strike that affected the season. Warner Brothers is having a lot of issues behind the scenes. It's not a surprise that they cut the season from 10 to 8. So for him to publicize, set a release date for when he's going to critique season 2. I don't know if that's fair to Ryan Condal and some of the people behind the show. And it's also, people have made this case. You sold the rights to HBO, or you licensed them. I think it's a 5-year contract. So this was the decision you made because you wanted more money. And I guess a part of you wants to see it adapted. But you can't, my favorite phrase, you can't have your cake and eat it too when it comes to this. You can't say, here's the rights to the stuff I wrote, go ahead and adapt it, slap my name on as co-creator so people think I'm more involved than I actually am because I'm juggling a million projects at once. So is it disingenuous? I think it is a little bit. And I feel like enough people out there who do it professionally critiqued House of the Dragon for you, George. I don't know if we need to hear from you, because even some of the complaints that he dropped during the season, where maybe I wouldn't have done that if I was in charge of running the show, but there are no wild dragons in the Vale. Okay, George. I feel like that show had season 2 had way bigger problems than that. So I will be interested just to read it, just because it's just funny to see him calling out a show that he's credited as a co-creator and producer on. It's like, when an athlete just airs the dirty laundry of a locker room. So
Yeah.
should be fun to read. This question here from Patriot. After the success of Alien Romulus, would you want a sequel to Alien Covenant? Yeah, Alien Romulus is making good money at the box office. I can't imagine they're going to go the route of a sequel. What I would love for them to do is just bring together everybody who's been cool in the Alien franchise in one movie. Like, give me Rain and Andy, Sigourney as Ripley, and Fassbender as David, and figure it out. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think, what they kind of set up at the end of Romulus, just to have that new kind of, whether it's a sequel or trilogy they're planning with those characters, bring back Kaylee Spaney, and maybe there is an older version of Ripley somewhere, and kind of continue with that story while adding in some other aspects of the world.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I want.
So,
because I think Spaney and David Johnson are definitely coming back. Romulus gets a sequel in one way or another.
Yeah, I think so too. But I wish, are they going to go the route of just making another type of isolated horror movie in this world, or expand on some of the things set up in movies like Covenant or Prometheus?
Yeah, see, that's why I would like them to bring back the characters, where it's clearly a continuation of the Romulus story, but bring in David and figure out something for him to do with the Prometheus fluid. And old woman Ripley, eye patch, kind of looking like Solid Snake. I've done this a million times, kid, blah, 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 whatever it is. Whatever you need to do to bring back Sigourney Weaver. She doesn't really seem to be interested in coming back, but she's done other shit for money, so I think if you give her enough, she'll come back.
Maybe like a tamed xenomorph that's on our side.
Oh, I wouldn't hate that. Yeah, no, the half human, half xenomorph comes back, and he's like, just drifting in space, I realized I'm also human.
One thing about drifting aimlessly in space makes you really reflect on your own humanity.
No, dude, seriously, it's the best. Oh, good question here from Gorilla the Conqueror. One of our best question people. Thank you, Gorilla. What movie wins the box office next July? Jurassic World 4, Superman, or Fantastic Four?
I think Jurassic Park.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. Those Jurassic fucking World Park, you slap Jurassic on that shit, it's making a billy.
Yeah. For some reason, those movies, just everyone's got to see that.
Everybody loves dinos.
It is true. Little kids love dinosaurs. Old adults remember the old Jurassic Park movies. That just has one of the more, not surprising, but one that people don't really point at as brand recognition, Jurassic Park. Even the garbage ones make over $1 billion. If Superman gets bad reviews off the kick, no one's going to see it. This could get 50% of Rotten Tomatoes and it'll still crack $1 billion.
Oh, yeah. Because people see the trailers and they're just like dinosaurs wreaking havoc. They're just
Fantastic.
certain IPs that they're always going to make buckets.
And we have, obviously, they weren't great movies. Well, one a lot worse than the other, but point to Man of Steel and Fantastic Four, their recent releases, they didn't make shit. Well, they made something. I mean, Man of Steel definitely did too, but not compared to what some of the Jurassic World movies made.
I'm pretty sure the first Jurassic World made 1.5 billion or close to it, and then it was surpassed by Force Awakens. It was the highest grossing domestic movie ever released.
And Man of Steel was 668.
Yeah.
And
well, what do you think makes more between Superman and Fantastic Four?
Superman.
Interesting.
I think we like to think of Fantastic Four as this, Marvel's first family and has so much history and all that. I don't think a lot of people care.
No, they definitely don't have the same name recognition. I mean, they do have the name recognition, but in terms of how many people actually love the Fantastic Four, yeah. But I also think it being the first MCU Fantastic Four, that will give them a bit of a boost. Pedro Pascal leading it. He's on such a tear lately. The marketing's going to be huge, and they're also going to market it as this is the lead up to Avengers, and also Galactus.
Yeah. I know the movie was dog shit, but Miles Teller one made $167 million at the worldwide box office. There's been other dog shit movies with similar ratings with bigger names that would have crushed that number.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we will see. I think that'll be interesting. It's going to be a hell of a summer for box office.
I think the only one that has the potential to hit $1 billion out of Fantastic Four and Superman is Superman. If it comes out with very good reviews.
Yeah, like those are two movies that the reviews are really going to make the difference. Because if Fantastic Four comes out and it's got like a 95%, that's easily above 500 million worldwide. And same thing with Superman. And relative to the budget, we'll see what types of budgets that they have. I imagine both are going to be astronomical. But both of those movies with great reviews could. I don't think either could touch $1 billion. A Superman movie has never made $1 billion. Batman v Superman didn't even cross 900. So I think that will be a tough mark for both movies to hit. But if they get good reviews, I think they're going to be neck and neck. Whereas Jurassic World is definitely going over $1 billion, and it's got ScarJo.
Unless we get Downey in the trailer. Then it's $1 billion.
Everybody was joking about his recent quote. He's like, man, I looked into the character and I said, wow, how much money are you giving me for this? This good question here from B_Allen. One must go. The Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2, Lord of the Rings 2 Towers, or Empire Strikes Back?
Hold on. I'm just looking at the Jurassic World with 1.6. Decent movie, right? Not the best, but I think it was entertaining. Fallen Kingdom made 1.3 billion. That movie fucking sucked.
Yeah, terrible.
Dominion, terrible reviews off of a shitty movie, made $1 billion.
But they are going down, right? What did the last one make?
It was 1.6, 1.3 to 1 billion.
I think there's a lot riding on this next one. And just based on every Jurassic Park movie after the first one, it's probably going to suck. Not a lot riding. I mean, it's still going to make a profit, but I don't know if it's a guaranteed billion these days. But I'd still would consider it the favorite over Superman and Fantastic Four.
What was the question?
Eliminate one of these movies: The Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, Lord of the Rings 2 Towers, or Empire Strikes Back. That's actually pretty easy to me. It's going to be Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, me too.
At first I read it and I was like, oh, that's difficult. If you remove Spider-Man 2 and then said remove one of the last three, that's actually impossible.
Yeah, what? Dark Knight,
2 Towers, and Empire. I don't even want to answer that one since it wasn't asked. I don't want to put an answer on the podcast.
Now, like, what does it get replaced with, though? Like, if you take out 2 Towers, like, do you still get...
No, the Peter Jackson movies never happened. Or the first one happened, but then something terrible happened in 2002.
That's the case.
You know, if I could still remember it, if it's like you can never watch one again, I think I would take out The Dark Knight because I've seen it so much that I can just watch it in my memory.
Where is she? Yeah, that's tough.
But it like if I truly had to rank them based on how much I enjoy them,
I think, well, Spider-Man's last. If we take that out, is it Empire?
Dude, honestly, for me, it might be Empire. And I love Star Wars, but...
Actually, yeah, fuck. Because then Star Wars doesn't exist anymore. And, like, I love Star Wars, but that would just make... Imagine a world with no Star Wars right now.
Yeah, that's actually very fair.
Not having to watch people argue about Star Wars online, I think is worth it.
Yeah, sorry, Empire. I'll miss you, Yoda.
I'll keep the memories and I'll just make it.
Yeah, I'll just do a Yoda movie.
And sell my franchise to Disney for even more money.
This question here from Jack of all trades. Most anticipated movies for the rest of the year. Jack's most anticipated are Nosferatu, Rohirrim, and Gladiator. Yeah, I'm excited for Rohirrim. I'm excited for all three of those, especially Nosferatu. I think my most anticipated for the rest of the year, though, is Cloud, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's latest action movie, first action movie from a guy who's known for his horror thrillers and domestic dramas. So I'm so excited for that. I know it's going to be Japan's submission for the Oscars, and I've heard great things coming out of the festivals about it. But also Anora, because that's just been the festival darling of the year so far. A lot of people are saying that's movie of the year. And also Adrian Brody's The Brutalist is getting great reviews.
Yeah, I'm seeing both of those next week, and Conclave too, which is also getting very good reviews.
I'm so excited for Conclave. That looks so ridiculous. It looks right up my alley, dude. And I love Ray Fiennes. He's just the fucking best.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few that's getting... some hype around it, especially in like the horror genre, The Substance. It's always fun during festival season to see like these movies that you might have heard of or have an idea about, like maybe directors and actors, but weren't on your radar because obviously it's not like a Nosferatu or a Gladiator in terms of like, or Joker in terms of like public knowledge.
Did you back up from your mic?
A little bit.
I want to get closer, yeah. That mic is, you need to be intimate with that mic, baby.
I'm also seeing Night Bitch, which I'm excited about.
Oh, that should be fun.
Yeah, let's see if Amy Adams still got it.
Dude, her filmography is ugly.
Well, it used to be fucking pristine.
Yeah, now it's gross.
You got a new.
She's had a rough go of it.
Yeah. What else is coming out? Isn't something coming out in December? Like
Something big?
movie? I think so. I don't know. Megapolis, I'm excited because
Yeah. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see it in a local theater and see one of the theater employees have to interact with the screen. That's going to be fun for them. Did you hear about this? That there's a scene when
yeah.
My cousin goes, I don't like that the movie's encouraging people to talk to the screen. And I'm like, buddy, I can't imagine many people are going to see this movie in theaters. And also anybody who's going to be there seated for Megalopolis is not going to be, like some 16-year-old dickhead there with his buddies talking to the screen. All right, we'll end it off with our Super Bowl picks. This question here from the Dude Meister. Who do you guys have in the Super Bowl? I feel like everyone's saying Chiefs after everybody was sleeping on the Chiefs last year. So now the Chiefs aren't going to win it. I would love to see Mahomes get a three-peat. I just think for the history, that would be so cool. And at that point, I think he would have enough where we could say he's better than Brady. So that would be great. But I'm hoping, this is more of a hope Super Bowl pick. I hope it's the Ravens, and I hope the Ravens win. I don't know who the fuck's coming out of the NFC. Well, I'll say Ravens. God, I don't even know who else is good in the NFC. I'll say Ravens and 49ers. That's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Niners have just been there for so long. But I think there's a point where you're not due anymore.
Yeah.
Like you've had so much success and just like you missed your chance to get it done. So I can see maybe Detroit or even Philadelphia making a run in the NFC.
I like the Detroit pick. I think I would like to see that. I think a Ravens-Detroit Super Bowl would be so fun. Philadelphia, obviously hate them, division rival, but yeah, addition of Saquon. I think there are a lot of question marks though with Hurts. This is a big year for Hurts.
And they have a ton of weapons on offense.
Yeah, but they kind of stunk last year, and he kind of stunk. He was pretty awful, like the whole second half of the season. So who do you have winning it? Are you thinking? I definitely lost you on audio. Oh, Aaron just texted me and said that his laptop died. So, yeah, I'm just going to make the pick for him. I imagine it's going to be Jets. So, yeah, that does it for this episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us. For Aaron, whose laptop is dead, I'm sure he's got it plugged in now, but I'm just going to wrap this up. I am Reuben, formerly known as Beau Oliver. We'll be back very soon for some new episodes of the Nerd Soup Podcast, reviewing the Rings of Power and other stuff. So be on the lookout for that, and everybody have a good weekend, whenever this comes out. Peace.